What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Conversation Piece, the podcast about the missing pieces of the conversations we are having here in Indianapolis. I am your host, Patrick Armstrong, and I am so excited to be back with y'all for episode 101.
Ooh, 101.
101. I'm excited to have you for 101. I feel like it's a great kickoff. So without further ado, I want to introduce you. My guest today is an Emmy Award-winning director, producer, and camera operator. If you're from Indianapolis, you've probably seen his work in some form in the past 5 years, 10 years, a long time. For a long time.
Sure.
Whether it be on the sets of numerous reality TV shows like Good Bones or Buying Back the Block, or from any of his many music videos with local artists. Or maybe it's from Music in Transit, where some of the hottest artists from Indianapolis perform on an Indigo bus. He was one of the people who created that. That is how awesome 100 is getting kicked off. 101 is being kicked off. This next hundo is incredible. The man heads up his own company as well, Total Fun Productions, where he pursues his passion projects outside of his day job. I'm getting way ahead of myself, so without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to welcome Jake Huber to the show.
That was beautiful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Can I get that in writing also?
You absolutely can. When we're done, I will cut this off.
You made me feel really good about myself. That's really nice.
I like it. We were just talking about feeling burnout and feeling about what does it do, or what makes us happy. And I'm glad that we could make you a little bit happy with that intro. But I appreciate you being here. I think
likewise.
I appreciate you stopping by the studio. For those who don't know, and I know I just gave you an introduction, but for people who don't know who you are for some reason, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. So my name's Jake Huber. I direct and I produce a lot of video content in town. I started out in like 2015-ish, actively just like going to shows, filming shows, and that kind of transitioned into music videos. And then those music videos kind of transitioned into larger scale music videos. And then I just kind of gained notoriety around town for kind of doing more crazy stuff. And that led into me making a music series in town, Music in Transit, where we showcase both the use of public transportation and the local music scene together. And we just finished our 6th season. We're going into a micro 6.5, season 6.5. And and we're excited to see what comes from that, really.
I'm excited for that. I always love the decimal, like the in-between episodes. It's like, how do we bridge the gap and make sure that we're not taking up too much time between, we can just push out some stuff that's really cool.
Yeah.
You very Jake with the shot at it, talking about how you started going to shows. You were a fan first, it sounds like, before you started to create. What were some of the first shows that you found yourself attending in the city?
I, believe it or not, started out as a photographer, went to school for photography. I would go to a lot of like punk and hardcore shows, and I kind of stuck in that realm for a long time. And then after a while, when I moved back to Indy after graduating from IU, I started going to Fountain Square a lot and going to like hip hop shows. Square Cat Vinyl, when it first opened, did a hip hop night. So me and my friends would come. We'd like have shoulder rigs. We'd plug in a Zoom into the board, and we just make like, performance videos just for whoever was going that night. And this week, I kind of met people that way. But I would see people like Sirius Black, Oreo Jones, Flacco perform all the time, and I was like, wow, this is insane. These people were amazing. So once I like kind of saved up a little chunk of change, I hit up OJ, and I was like, hey, I have this crazy idea. Let's do it. And that was like my first like bigger video where the budget was kind of like bigger.
Yeah. You had money to create. You were just kind of showing up in that way.
Most of my work, I really just saved money and kind of threw it towards the video. Luckily, I had a lot of crew that would work for free or at a reduced rate and stuff like that. And 2018 is when I started doing videos like that. And my goal was to have like 5 like set build music videos. I reached that goal and kind of used that to kind of sell myself to outside markets.
I like it. Yeah. You mentioned you graduated from IU. I know that you double majored at IU. Yeah. Was that always the goal? Because I think your majors were like in communications and production, I believe, or something along that line.
Yes.
And then that seems like it led you into the work that you do.
I was just an art school kid going to school for photography, and I had to get a wisdom tooth taken out that was kind of jam-packed in there, and they put me under for it. And so as I was being put under, the doctor was like, hey, what do you go to school for? Just kind of shooting the shit with me. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a photographer. And like all the nurses and the doctors kind of laughed. And they're like, oh, art school,
Damn.
And so the very next week I was like, oh shit, what am I doing with my life? And so I double majored in telecom. Because I always, I I messed with video. When I took stills, I would like roll video too, and I'd always compile clips and stuff like that. And,
Okay.
So from then I just kind of learned stuff, and then I kind of got thrown into the reality TV ringer after that. It was my first job, and then from there I was like, okay, I love video.
That's wild that it's just like that kind of moment.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I'm going to go to the dentist.
Shout out wisdom teeth, man.
Yeah. Shout out the wisdom teeth. Shout out the anesthetic that puts us under and does not give us a chance to retaliate.
For sure.
And we have to dwell on. Thinking about that then, so you are like, okay, if I'm going to make a career of this, I got to like grind. I'm going to do more just to show the haters out there that I can do this. And then you end up on, was it Good Bones right out of college?
Yeah. Started Good Bones, yeah.
Was that happening at the same time you're going to shows and trying to create and capture?
Yeah, that was right when I moved back to Indy from Bloomington. So, yeah.
Was reality TV a goal for you as well at that time? Or were you like, was reality TV something that could help support the work that you were doing in the city?
A little bit of both. I really wanted to get into the scripted world. Like the dream when I was younger and graduating college, was like, oh, I want to go to New York. I want to, work on, a Tonight Show or, like something like that. And then go into like a scripted TV show. But I knew I needed to get my foot in the door one way or another. Okay. And luckily the Good Bones thing happened. And so, I started meeting people from there.
I like it. I read that you had a mentor on the production of Good Bones, Sam, and I apologize if I pronounced your name. Lucchese, okay. Who was a production manager. I was wondering if you could share, as you talked about, you like met people there, you learned a little bit more about the industry. I was wondering if you could share just something that you learned from Sam that you try to tap into now, or that you carried with you as you focused on the work that you were really passionate about.
Yeah, so Sam is what they call a unit production manager. So he's the top of the food chain, like on a shoot. So he handles hiring people, firing people, payroll, assigning tasks like production assistants and stuff like that. So like watching him work was kind of insane. And he was my first boss, and he came from a crazy background. He like pretty much worked on the show Unsolved Mysteries in LA, a bunch of shows in LA. And for some odd reason, he got hired to do the Good Bones show. And then from there, he kind of stayed here. He still lives here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about, is that a relationship that you still tap into today?
Yeah. We hang out all the time.
I like it.
Yeah.
How was that work? What were you taking from what you were learning on reality TV and implementing into your creative process around the music videos that you were shooting? We talked about it. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but you're really interested. I think you're really passionate about building your own sets. I think that is something that I've read when I was doing the research on the work that you've done. What about the reality TV experience do you take from there when you go into, or when you were going into the first music videos and sets that you were building for that?
Great question. The thing about reality TV that like is different than commercials or movie sets, stuff like that. Once you are in a show, you pretty much do every department. As a PA, you learn camera stuff, you learn grip and lighting, you learn just typical day-to-day maintenance, just to maintain a crew. So I just took what I learned from there. It was pretty much like going back to college. And from there, I would just take that and I would, hire out a crew of my own. And I was like, okay, I need a guy, I need a DP, I need an AC, I need a gaffer, and, I need a grip, and I need like 2 PAs, just like how the show was structured. Okay. And yeah.
So the system, the framework of how you implement, and then the creative kind of comes from your own mind, and you can put the creative into that framework.
Exactly. Yeah.
So speaking of said creative, you mentioned that one of your first big budget shoots was with OJ.
Yes.
Shout out OJ. I also read...
Love you, OJ.
Love you, OJ. I also read that you did a big shoot, and I thought this was your first one, but maybe I was wrong, was Sirius, for Shogun. And so my question around this, and I guess my question even with the OJ shoot was, when it comes to creating or ideating around a video and then going to an artist and say, hey, this is what I have for you. Do you want to do this? What is that process like for you? Do you just have the idea instantly and you're just figuring out the edges? Or is it something that's just like a seed and then you kind of let it grow?
It's always a little different. if I like somebody, I'll see if I can get their album way in advance, even if it's like rough demos, and I can come up with something. A lot of the time, it's like songs that are already out. Like for the Oreo video, he did a side project called Michael Raintree. It's kind of experimental, and I always saw this glass box truck driving around, owned by Violet Vintage at the time. I don't know if it's still there at the CCIC or the factory, whatever now. Yeah. But I just was like, oh, it would be so cool to put a band or just somebody in this glass box truck and like drive it around Indy. And then I saw Oreo perform as Michael Raintree, and I was just like, oh, this song that I heard, I was like, oh, this would be perfect for it. So, yeah.
I like that. Okay, you brought up Michael Raintree, and I'm going to bring this up now because I asked him about Michael Raintree then, and I guess as a fan of just Indianapolis music, but of Oreo specifically, can you give me your take on that experiment and what that is like to experience an artist that you're a big fan of stepping out of their own comfort zone from a person who helps not just capture that kind of experience, but who utilizes storytelling to help amplify that voice?
I love the Michael Raintree project. I think anything OJ touches is gold. And the fact that he always incorporates some type of experimental stuff, even in his new album, there's like, traces of like cool ambient noise. Like, I'm butchering explaining like what I'm trying to say. But
I think that's a great explanation. It's hard to explain because of what he taps into.
But I see a little bit of that like leaking into Treese. And like this year, he, there was like a band or two this year, and like they're starting to like bring in more like not abstract, but just people that multi-genre stuff. And I think just introducing Indianapolis to more acts like that, which I think is cool.
I like it. From a custom set build perspective, what's something important about that people like the layman like myself might not realize or not think about when they watch a music video?
People out here be copying people. I'm not going to call anybody out, but it's happened. It's happened to me a bunch of times. It's happened to my friends a bunch of times. The safety of the set build, nobody can replicate it, So that was my big thing. I was like, I always wanted a Jake Keeper video to be like, oh, that's a Jake Keeper video. I didn't want it to be like, oh, I didn't want it to look like a run and gun or anything like that.
You want to have your own distinct style.
Yeah.
How did you come to that? And is that something you're still developing, or do you feel like you've landed on, this is a Jake Huber video?
Yeah. That's a good question. Just backtracking a little bit. I just think like documenting how the set's built and stuff like that is always like crucial. Like when I sell myself to other artists, I'm like, hey, this is like what it takes to make a video. See how many people are building the set right now and how many people are on set. And this is like why it costs a certain amount of money, you know? But yeah. So what was your question?
I was asking.
I got triggered by the people be copying thing, and I'm like, man, should I call some people out right now?
No, absolutely. I think that is the part of the answer to the question. I said something important about like when it comes to building a custom set for a music video or just for any project that you're working on that people don't really think about. We live in an age of VFX and the volume at Disney, and it's like a lot of it is not really like practical builds anymore. And I think there are some people that are trying to get back to that. But what I really appreciate about what you do from a music video perspective is, and even music in transit, it's all practical. It's not like it's just a bunch of effects popping up. And so I guess from that perspective, like an important thing that we don't, as viewers, aren't thinking about when we watch the finished product, but something that you've had to take into account and that you wish people would think about a little bit more when they consume.
Yeah, the age of the set build is slowly dying, or maybe fastly dying actually. But I'm doing my first volume shoot in October actually.
Okay.
And I just that with VFX. My last video for AA was all VFX. We would shoot plates and we'd be on actual locations, but there'd be at least one aspect in every scene that included like heavy VFX. And so I really like doing that. It's like everything, it's super expensive to hire somebody out to do that. It's very time consuming. And the volume wall stuff is so much more, like it's way easy. You can, the shoot that I'm doing, they need to be in a castle. And they're like, oh, you can add a hallway. You can add a flaming torch. You could change the color of the fire. You can add a dragon, some bullshit, a knight in armor and stuff like that. And so it's just going to be way easier doing volume wall stuff.
Sure.
But even with that, the price for per day on that is insane.
It's just like the cost. It's like we're not even thinking about, that one raindrop cost $1,000.
Yeah. And same thing, you can pop up a green screen and you can download like a trial version of Unreal Engine, and you can do stuff on your own now, pretty much.
Yeah.
It still looks corny, but you can do it.
Sure.
And you can do it like easy. You can do it on your phone.
Yeah.
You know.
What was the experience like doing the Wonderful shoot? And is that the first time that you really incorporated VFX that heavily into the work that you've done?
So the idea of Wonderful came from me hating hanging mic videos. I think hanging mic videos are the worst thing to happen into the hip hop world. And because everybody does them, and forgive me for the originator of it. I follow them, and it's a cool idea, and I think that they should be the only person who does it. And that's, so people here do it. People are like, yo, give me $150. I'll do a hanging mic video for you. And I'm just like, dude, that's so unoriginal. So the infinite hanging mic going into the clouds is like the inspiration for it. And I was just like, oh, where does the cord lead to? Should it just snap in the back of his neck? Like, I pretty much just texted AA like every other day, like with stupid ideas. And he's just like, yeah, do whatever.
Yeah. When does an idea go from, that would be fun, to being, I'm going to execute on this. I want to pitch it to AA, Oreo, whoever it might be?
It's just a good feeling. It's just like it feels right. And it feels like, okay, it's time.
And then how much does that change in the collaboration with said artist?
It changes. Yeah. I mean, sometimes an artist will have an idea and I'm open to it. Yeah. I think it takes two to tango for that kind of thing. So, I never shut any ideas down, Sure. If there's anything, I'll adjust and, we'll rewrite some things,
Has there ever been a time where you've had to like work through, maybe not, it's not like an argument, but like a difficult, like I'm trying to explain the vision and the artist is like trying to understand, but it's like, we just have to figure out a way to get to that middle.
Yeah. I think it's just like, it's different being in person versus over the phone or via text. I always try to just meet in person and kind of like feel it out, either going to locations in person, stuff like that, or just like making a treatment that's really good.
I like it. Something that I like about that first work, and that I appreciate you sharing about just like being a fan and going to the shows, is this idea of consuming the artwork that you want to eventually create media around, or that you want to capture and use to tell the story of whatever it is that you're consuming. And I think when I think about like Naptown hip hop, and when I think about like what I was listening to coming up, it was a lot of like In the Basement, a lot of like very like grit and grimy type of like underground. Yeah. I wasn't listening to I wouldn't necessarily classify it as underground, but it just like when I think about it, it feels underground. Do you ever find yourself now in the work that you're doing trying to recapture some of that original like gritty, go after it type of thing?
Yeah.
That you were doing, or that you kind of had to do when you were first coming up?
Wonderful was kind of like that, because that was like just pulling up to a place and shooting. But I have some stuff in the works. Can't say with who yet, but it's 2 local artists here, and I'm really taking things back and doing all natural. I'm shooting stuff on 8 mil and 16 mil, and it's all going to be just on location, kind of stylized, but more like gritty run and gun stuff. As far as like the consuming factor, I think Indiana has been really, really creative, not just with like trees and stuff, but just showcasing local acts. My twin brother, Jake with the Shot, his whole album and his whole show was just awesome. And that idea is just really incredible. And having like an accompanying music video for each artist and the portrait and all that, it's just really cool. I've never seen something like that. So I love that shit.
Yeah, we talk about it here on the show a lot, like being community focused and finding ways to create or tap into community that you wouldn't necessarily think about. Right. And a lot of the conversations we have on here delve into that creative, entrepreneurial like side of things, but from a lot of different areas. And I wonder, for someone who's been in this industry in the city for a decade now, and who has been not only prominent in the scene, but as somebody who has done a lot of stuff that people probably don't even know that you've been involved in, what is your take on like the creative community of Indianapolis at this point in time? Let me start there. At this point in time, like, what is your perspective on that?
There's this, like every city, there's pockets of different types of people. You know, there's people like me, it's like in the film and television world. There's people in commercials. There's content creators. There's bloggers. They're all are in their own little pockets and do their own thing. And there's some like cross pollination between all those groups. But yeah, I think it's healthy and it's growing.
Do you think there's like, is it a healthy amount of cross-pollination? Do you think there's more cross-pollination that could be done to help from a visibility perspective, I suppose? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know. It's some, you know, there's people that are like DPs that shoot commercials, and they're like, want nothing to do with a videographer type of person, you know, and maybe that's vice versa, you know. So there might be some people that are more stubborn and don't want to really meet people that do other genres of filmmaking or video work. But the people I've met have been nice, and, you know, I always just keep an open mind. Yeah. Except wedding videographers.
Everybody, that's nice, open mind, except for wedding. Get out of here. We don't have time for you.
Love and respect yourself. Don't do that to yourself.
Don't do that to yourself. There you go. PSA for the show.
There have been some cool wedding videos I've seen, though, in the past, though. But I will never admit
nuance
it.
right there.
Yeah.
That's nuance right there.
Yeah.
Well, to me, that sounds like it's all about, again, community, but like knowing the human behind the work. So like, you can't just assume that because you do this thing, you're going to want to either do this thing or this thing. It's like, if you know the person, then you can better put them in the position to succeed or whatever that might be.
Yeah. That's a big thing with my sets and music and transit and stuff. I'll meet, you know, kids fresh out of school or people who just decide to become freelance, and I'll just be like, hey, come to my set, meet all these people. Hey, do you want to, you know, bring your camera and mess around? And because nobody ever gave me that opportunity coming up, you know. I had to like fight to get my foot in the door in a set. And so I've definitely connected a lot of people in town, and that's the thing I'm actually really proud of is just getting some people like full-time work.
Yes, that's another thing that I really wasn't expecting about the podcast, but those connections that come for people to then find other work outside of that, I think is really incredible. And also something that we take for granted a lot, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of people probably would not, because they see your finished work now and they're seeing you in 2024, don't know you had to kick the door down to get onto some sets and to work. Can you talk a little bit about the struggle as a new creative in your field, trying to overcome some of those barriers, and how you have lowered said barrier to make it easier to bring somebody else up?
That's a great question. I'm still kind of doing that. You know, so like in the film and commercial world here, you aren't taken seriously if you say, oh, I can do lighting and I can shoot. And, you know, you have to like wear one hat and wear that hat the rest of your life. And I'm not that kind of person, you know? So I'm trying to like come up, you know, and explain what I do better to people, but I just do a little bit of everything, which is a gift and a curse in the industry, you know?
The jack of all trades ends up being the person who you can't put anywhere because it's like, we don't have the thing.
Yeah. But if somebody's like, oh, I shoot, but I don't edit, or I edit, but I don't shoot. And then it's just like, well, how are you going to survive? Yeah. You know, you need to know how to do multiple things.
Yeah. So tapping people into some of those things, how do you recognize that like, oh, this is a thing that you could probably work on and take you further? Is that something, I mean, is that an easy thing to recognize and not to just like put people on blast, like you suck at this, but you could do this?
I don't know. When I see people are really good at something, I'll definitely recommend them for stuff. If someone's like, hey, I need an editor for a podcast, I'll be like, oh, I know this guy, Mike Lee, who can do it in real time. Who's doing it in real time right now. But yeah, there's just like, you know, people have their certain talents and sometimes they have more than one. And, you know, I don't know. It's a tough question.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just like, again, I think a lot of it goes back to tenure. You've been in the business for a long time. You've done a lot of everything. Yeah. And so you have that unique perspective. And I think another part of that is the human side of it. It's the relationships that you build to know that person to then have a better understanding or idea of like, okay, this is probably a good suggestion. Maybe I don't go down this path.
Yeah, I think just giving people chances is, I mean, it's always a gamble, but it always usually works out.
Yeah.
You know?
So we talked about before we hopped on mic that you were have been freelancing for the last about a year now. I read that you are less interested in doing feature work and more interested in doing music video and documentary work. I read the reason for that, which I really loved, is because there are millions of stories that haven't been told, and there are many stories that probably won't get to be told.
For sure.
As we come up to the back half of this conversation, I was wondering, what's an aspect of storytelling that you think people need to be or should be aware of when they're consuming said story?
A lot of the stuff that I've been doing as of 2 years ago, I've been using the energy that I put into music videos and instead like putting it into other people that I think have a good story to tell. I did a piece on AA for the millionth time, bringing him up on this conversation. But, you know, he's cool. He runs a thrift store. But, like, I really wanted to dive deep into his story. And I think it's really cool that he, like, runs a shop with his family.
Yeah.
And during that time when we made it, they were talking about expanding into the new space. And I don't know, there's always, like, more information that gets discovered during these interviews that make the story even better.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, like during interviews, you know, we'll sit for 2 to 3 hours and something random will come up and we'll be like, oh, wow, this changes everything.
Sure.
You know, so that's kind of my answer to that.
Yeah.
I just think people will be like, oh, I'm going to watch this piece on, you know, Jake, Mike Lee, anybody. I know what they are and what they do, but I don't know. I just think adding the element of surprise is the fun part for me.
I like it. So how do you find then stories to start telling in this new era of like, I'm focused here? How do you pick like a AA or the person that you were just telling us about who makes the custom suits? Like, how do you figure out, or how does it click in your mind? That's a story that I would like to tell.
Same with like artists and stuff. I just watch from afar and I'm like, wow, everybody loves this person or everybody's going to see this person perform. And there's just a lot of people here that do cool shit.
Sure.
Like I did a piece on Christian from Howlin' Hyde, who just is incredible at what he does. And he's doing the most ridiculous pieces for, you know, clients now, like celebrities, famous athletes, stuff like that. And then their store expanded also. And, you know, there's a lot coming with their company, that I don't know I shouldn't talk about, but they're killing it. And you know, I don't know. Just I like documenting cool people who do cool shit.
Sure.
You know, and I like making it short form so people don't turn it off after a while. So a lot of these things are like 2 to 3 minutes, but super stylized. And then you know, different types of like mediums used. I try to throw like 16 mil, 8 mil stuff in there. I'm doing this piece that's shot all on the Bolt robot for the sign painter in Fort Wayne.
Okay.
And then I'm doing a piece on Jerry Lee Atwood with my friends, who makes custom Western suits for literally almost 100 celebrities. Lil Nas X, Post Malone, the Stranger Things cast. Like he is incredible. And it's kind of wild to think that a dude that works in a shop at 54th and College made this suit that Lil Nas X wore that has over 1 billion views on YouTube.
Right.
Like 1 billion people have seen your work and don't even know who you are. And you're just this dude that lives in a little pocket in Indiana.
Yeah.
I just think that's so cool.
That is cool. And I think one of the reasons we wanted to focus on Indianapolis stories this year was, well, one, I wanted to build that community for my kid because I didn't have something like that when I was here originally. And two, because I just kept coming across people that were really cool. Like you said, like just finding cool people doing cool stuff, like really doing things that you would expect to find in a back alley of New York or like somewhere in San Francisco, you're walking around, you see that happening, not in Indianapolis. I think the ability to tap into that is incredible. And something I pride myself on is being able to do some research as I get ready to interview someone. How do you go about, you said you watch from afar. Like, how does Jerry Lee Atwood come across your radar? Was it just you saw the suit on Lil Nas X and you're like, where did that come from?
During COVID, over at CCIC, what's the name of that place now? Factory.
I think it's Factory Arts.
Factory
I do
Art
not
Space.
know. Circle Center. I don't know. Something with the circle.
He came on my radar in a bunch of different ways, but the main way was during COVID, he made these like stylized face masks, and Vogue Italy came here and did a photo shoot at CCIC, and he made like the spread of Vogue, and I was just like, that's pretty nuts. And I was just like, who is this guy? And I just some people have done like short, there's like a 10-minute documentary about him on YouTube, but it's very like scarce like info about him.
Sure.
Like, there's been a really good Indie Star article about him now and stuff like that. But yeah, I was like, oh man, I want to really highlight this dude.
Well, I think that's why I appreciate what you do so much, because I feel the same way when I'm bringing guests on to the show. I'm like, I'm always going to Google. And then sometimes for some people who I'm expecting to see a lot, there's like 3 things. And I'm like, oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting to be able to tap in to the context, because the show is about the missing pieces. But when I started to have these conversations, I was like, okay, I need to know a little bit about your backstory first before we can understand why you see this as something, a gap.
Do you feel like you're helping people? Does it like feel good to help people? You know,
it feels good. It definitely feels good to help people.
To be that fourth Google, pop up.
To be the fourth Google, it is. I mean, I won't lie, a little ego trip whenever I Google somebody's name and my thing comes up.
No, but I think we're helping each other right now. I think we're helping, it's just another thing to add to the database,
100%.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, again, it's a little bit of community building, but I mean, selfishly for me, it's an opportunity to sit down and have a conversation and hopefully be able to share some of that stuff with a wider audience, not only in Indianapolis, but outside of that, because that's what I'm bringing to the context is people from everywhere but Indiana for some reason. So we're trying to make it work.
There's so much cool stuff here. Yeah. And even going back to video content, like you've discovered so much just through other people's like content.
Yeah, absolutely.
Music in transit, people have discovered, oh, this is a local band that plays here. Oh, this is a local rapper that plays here. Oh, what's Treese? You know, and they use that as an avenue, and I think that's really cool that I've been able to help people do that.
Yeah,
I've helped people book shows because they never had a recording of their band or good audio of their band, and so that's one of my favorite things about being here is the community here. It's very supportive.
Yeah.
If you find the right people.
For sure. You got to find the right people.
Yeah.
It actually brings up a question so what's something that you, as a man of many hats in this business, what's like the most random thing that you've had to do for somebody to either help them out or like you were just like, I was not expecting to have to do this in this role, but here it is?
That's a great question. It's been a lot of weird stuff I've had to pick up on for like reality TV shows. A lot of weird people I've had to transport.
Okay.
God, the stories are endless. Man, I'm trying to think. Had to pick up some country kitchen for Mike Epps on the Mike Epps show.
Okay.
Which was kind of fun. I don't know. There's a really good answer in there. I just don't know.
Okay, we'll get to it at some point.
Yeah.
Well, Jake, I appreciate you coming in, sitting down, and having this conversation with me. As we get ready to wrap here, I'm wondering what you have coming up the pipe that you can share with us, and like where is Music in Transit going? Because we've been mentioning that a lot. Like, what do you have that we can look forward to?
Music in Transit's coming up. It'll already happen by the time this episode airs, but it's this weekend, Sunday and Monday. But we relocated the whole shoot to Hot Boys in Fountain Square. We're going to run everything through there, and there'll be live entertainment, DJs, stuff like that in between sets. It's going to be jam-packed this year. There's like 9 acts. They're the people who couldn't do it earlier in the year, and I'm really excited about like a bunch of these bands. They're people I've wanted to work with for a long time. And then, putting out some these mini, documentaries. I call them just Total Fun Presents, and I'm doing one on Justin Lim, who's a sign painter in Fort Wayne. He makes really, really badass art in general. And then we're doing a piece on Jerry Lee Atwood that I mentioned. And I think that's really it. I'm going to call it quits for the year after that. On the passion project end.
You're done.
Yeah.
You're over. You're retiring. It's done.
No. Never. Never. I just need to sleep. That's it.
Hey,
yeah.
I feel you as a new parent. That is literally, I was just thinking that on the way here.
Congrats,
I'm like,
by the way.
thank you. I was like, man, what does a full day of rest look like? I don't know, and I don't think I ever will.
I don't think you'll ever will.
I don't think I ever will again. Shout out to my son. You're cool.
Show him this in a couple years. Yeah.
Just a couple more years. 2 more questions, and I'll let you go. What is something, we've talked a lot about your experience, and I think we've kind of touched on a lot of different parts of that, but for somebody coming up in the business right now in any capacity, and they're just like, I don't even know where to start. What is one piece of advice that you're leaving them with as they navigate that journey?
Just show up to events, socialize, and let them know what you do. If you're a shooter, bring a camera, make a recap video for free, show people your talent. And 1 or 2 times doing that, people will be like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. You know, people have done that for me, my friends, stuff like that. And I'm like, they're like forever hires, and so I think that's really important. Yeah.
I like it. Show up. Bring your stuff, socialize, and then make your thing.
Damn job. No.
Do the job.
But let people know what you do.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Mike. You know, and I keep going to Mike over here, but I'm a shooter. I'm an editor. You know, let them know what you do, and just be serious.
That's true. People don't know how to help you if you don't know how to ask, like what kind of help you need to ask for.
Yeah.
So, know what you're asking
volunteer.
For. And volunteer. Show up. Mention a couple like free things, and you're gonna have to do the free stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
But then you're gonna get the work.
You got to put in that work, which sometimes it sucks. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's like that being a fan first and showing up, and then it's like, oh, I'm just gonna film this thing, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna put this out, and then 4 videos later, you're shooting actual sets.
Oh, yeah, I think like Treese is a great example of this. I do the recap video every year, so I brought on a bunch of kids, and we made one. But at the same time, there's like 17 other people making a recap video. And so Treese now has 17 recap videos for the year. Yeah. And it's just different niches, different audiences are just like, oh, wow. Not just my video, but all the other, I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just thought of one other question before the last question. Where a bunch of people, there's obviously, I don't think the market's oversaturated. I think there's just a lot of really incredible people making incredible stuff.
Yeah.
What is there? Do you feel like there's a healthy competition when it comes to something like that? Or do you ever move in that mindset? Or is it just like, I'm creating the Total Fun Productions video. I'm not really worried about whatever anybody else is creating.
I'm not really worried about it. There's definitely a lot of people here, and it's kind of scary. But if you're like a really good one-man band or one-person band, it's going to take you a long way.
Yeah. You can do it. It's not impossible.
It's not impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you're staying like super active and going to everything. Like going to every cool event, going to Butter, like doing stuff. Like
you said, just show up and then socialize too with those people.
Yeah.
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 Cool. Well, I appreciate it. Last question. How do we support you? How do we follow you? How do we find you after this?
Just hit me up on Instagram, _JCuber, and check out Music in Transit. That's like my big thing I'm super excited about. And so it's on YouTube under Square Cat Vinyl Video. And subscribe to it. Watch a few episodes. We've had like famous people on it. We've had people no one's ever heard of on it. And I think that's really cool. We just had Tank and the Bangas on there, which was an incredible experience. We had Duran Jones, we had Houndmouth, we had all these bands that just have huge followings. And then the same treatment that we give them, we give to, a single rapper, a 2-piece band, someone with an acoustic guitar. So every episode kind of, has the same flow, and, I just love it.
As a fan, I love it to see artists get to be put in that position of just a little different. It's something that you don't see normally.
Yeah. And it's cool. It's a challenge for them too. It's a challenge for us.
Yeah.
Like we've done an 11-piece band in there. We put the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra in there. It's like, it gets cramped, it gets sweaty, it gets gross. But then all the footage was really good though.
The orchestra one I did just read about. I think that's so interesting. And I think one of the quotes, I just have to bring this up now because you brought it up, is how you said it just like really made them like learn about themselves, right?
Yeah.
Taught them a lot about themselves.
It was that. And they are the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra for a reason. They're professionals. And if a single one of them messed up, they would start over. And it was like a 45-minute set. And I think they started over like 5 times.
Damn.
Everybody's shoulder was like sore after like shooting it.
Yeah.
Like it was like, holy shit. But man, it was such a cool, incredible experience. And yeah, shout out to the ISO.
Shout out to the ISO. Shout out Nietzsche, Stapanukul, former guest.
Yeah.
And go check out Music in Transit. It is dope. And it's a really incredible representation of Jake's work, but also the people in the city who are doing awesome stuff in our music scene. Jake Huber, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Absolutely. For everybody else, at new episodes every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, conversationpeacepod.com for the archives and everything else, including a few straggling 100 shirts if you are interested in those. At Conversation Peace Pod on all social media platforms. And make sure you give a shout out to our new logo and stuff that we have going on. The branding is updated because we're doing some really cool stuff. We also have an awesome announcement coming up for November, so stay tuned.
Say it right now. What is it?
Beep. And that was the announcement. Can't wait for you to hear it. Thank you for being here for that exclusive. For everybody else, I've been Patrick Armstrong, and this has been Conversation Peace. And until next time, see y'all soon.